Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started in this fantastic podcast that we have cooked up today, first of all, if you want to support the channel, I know this is going on both my podcast channel and my professional YouTube channel because this is going to be more science stuff. So I want to keep the science with science stuff. But if you're watching this and interested in just conversations I have with a vast variety of people, go to my podcast channel, Ivy Talks Podcast Network at Ivy Talks Podcast, and subscribe to that. If you subscribe and leave a comment, you'll be entered for a chance to win $50 on the 1st and 15th of every month. And that'll really support the channel, as well as if you're watching this on the Professor Strib, if you guys are seeing this on the podcast channel, I have a professional channel where I try to do some demos, outreach, video content of kind of the science and things going on, the eclipse videos, conference videos, etc., etc. Also, if you want to support the pod, the IV Fitness workout programs right here, we got a free 30-day challenge that's going to be up for the remainder of the month in January. So 15 or 16 days left. It's going to be up free to download. It's an Excel file and it goes straight to your phone and you email it to yourself. Check that out. If you want a specifically curated workout for you, fill this bad boy out, send it to me, and I can help you with making a workout program. And we got some apparel there. Also, supplements. We got protein powders. We got vegan protein powders. We got stuff for immune support. We got pre-workouts. We have detox stuff, gut health, energy, metabolism, bones stuff to help with keeping your bones strong, nice and strong. Coffees and teas. Ladies and gentlemen, we got handmade bars of soap. Check it out at finalformsubs.com. And I hope you guys really enjoy this talk, and we'll get straight into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Uncle Strib. Today, it's going to be an exciting talk. It's going to be a nerdy talk, geeky talk for all my nerds out there, all my astro people. And we'll just go straight into it. We have Tiffany Jensen of the UTSA, UT San Antonio Stardust Group. I was actually trying to find the logo. I don't have it on this desktop for the Stardust background, the logo. But let's just start off. Simple introduction. Can you hear me?
Oh, well, it went through my computer for a second, but
My
I'm
check,
sorry.
my check, my check.
I can hear you through my computer. Let me try this again. So sorry. Wait, that one?
There we go. So, Tiff, why don't we start off with a little introduction? I kind of know a little bit of your background and stuff, but take us, what was it like growing up as Tiffany Jensen?
So I was a military kid. I lived like all over everywhere growing up. I was born here in San Antonio, where we are right now. So I've got a bunch of family here, or nearby at least. But we moved like all over. I went to 12 different schools before I graduated from high school. Um, four different high schools. That was a lot, but also it like changed my perspective like of different cultures. I was exposed to a lot of different kinds of people, different
Mhm.
ways of life. And I think that kind of helped shape me um, a lot. Um, yeah, I mean that's just like a big part of who I am. I mean, if we're talking about like physics, astronomy, I know a lot of our peers have stories like, oh, well, my parents were academics, or I grew up in a um, household where we looked at the stars and we went on camping trips all the time, or we looked through Starbucks or whatever it was. A lot of our peers like have wanted to do this their entire lives, and that really wasn't the case for me. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't
Mhm.
really put a lot of thought into it. I mean, I always got A's in English class, so that was the class or the major, the subject that kind of had me like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to college, so English. I don't know. But I took a physics class while I was pregnant in high school. I guess I kind of skipped over that. That's also a big part of who I am. But
Mhm.
uh, I took a physics class while pregnant in high school, and I was kind of dreading it. Like when I had to sit in the counselor's office, pick through what classes I was going to take. Did not want to take chemistry. I'd already done that. I'd passed the class, so like the next option was AP chemistry, and I was like, nope, absolutely not. I hate that. I guess we'll do physics. That sounds awful, though. It might be worse, but I'll give it a try. We'll see. And then I loved it. I loved every part of it. I loved the teacher that taught the class. Shout out Dr. Burkett in Biloxi, Mississippi. Um, he's really who like made me fall in love with physics. He was just excited about it. The way that he explained things was funny a lot of the
Mhm.
times. And this is like deep south. Like there are definitely some sexist people out in Mississippi where I was. And I'd had like an experience in class where a student had been like, "You're the only woman in our lab group. You just need to stop
Mhm.
talking. Sit down and shut up while the men are talking." And I was like 7 months pregnant when it happened. And it got me so heated. I went to the teacher and he just protected me for the rest of class. And then when my senior year came around and I had to sign up for a science class again, I did say yes for AP physics. Um, yeah, but that was like 16, 17, and even going into college, I was like, not physics. That's too hard. There's no way that I could possibly do all that. So I went in for like easier careers. I mean, not easy careers, definitely not easy careers, but I thought that it would be easy to get like a degree and get started in them, start making
Mhm.
money,
Yeah.
like nursing. I don't know why I wanted to be a doctor, to be honest with you, because that wasn't a quick one. And I changed my mind pretty quickly about that. And then I eventually fell on physics because I knew I loved it. And I was like failing at everything else. And I didn't understand why I was putting myself through all this if I didn't even love it. So
Yeah.
went to physics.
All right. Now let's fast forward because you kind of took us up through the high school, kind of where it started for you. I had a very similar experience. When I was in high school, I don't know how your high school worked, but our high school, we had like a kind of like an emphasis. So you would pick like after your freshman year, your sophomore, junior, senior year, you would have like these electives or an emphasis in your kind of diploma sort of. So I was criminal justice. So I took criminal justice one, two, and three through high school. And I was going my original plan, I wanted to be a forensic scientist, work in a police department doing forensics, ballistics, or whatever. And I took a senior year physics class. Shout out Coach Finley. He was also coach of the cross country track team. I took the physics class, and that's when I was like, "Oh no, this is it." Very similar kind of experience with having such a great teacher in high school that kind of made you, even though like you said, it's hard. It's more of the harder things to like conceptually understand to get the math behind it, but having a teacher that can really simplify it and make it engaging, I think is like a big difference maker for people
Mhm.
in that field. So now you are, again, congratulations, you are officially a grad student at UTSA. So kind of as like a for the people listening, kind of what do you research wise, what is your research and kind of what are you, obviously I know, but like what are you doing in terms of like on the modeling side, observation, stuff like that?
Um, I guess I'm going to start at the beginning because I've done a lot of different things in
Okay.
this one group doing one thing. I don't, I'm just going to start at kind of the
Yeah.
beginning, but like we're on like the Stardust team at
Hmm.
UTSA with Dr. Angela Speck. It's lovely. Um, but I really just took an interest in it because of Angela. Like I heard her speak. I started looking up some of her talks, started looking up some of what she's done and kind of what she as a person stands for, because she's really open about it. She does not hide that at all.
Hmm.
And that had me like, wow, this is a really strong woman in physics that's like making a name for has she has made a name for herself, and she's not afraid to like be herself. Like that's I want to be her when I grow up was kind of the energy when I
Yeah.
met her. And going to one of her, she had like a lecture at UTSA. We have these. I don't remember if it's the first Friday or the third Friday. I believe it's the first, but we have lectures, and then it's like an astronomy observing thing on the roof if the weather's good enough. But
Oh,
there's at
I think
least
it's the
a few years
first.
ago. I
Yeah.
don't know if they still do the lectures, to be honest with you, because I haven't gotten a notification about a lecture in a
Mhm.
while. But they used to have lectures once a month too. And Angela invited me to one of those. I came to that, and I remember arguing with this student in like middle school. Like she had told me that okay, I grew up really religious. I should probably preface, but she was arguing with me that like everything in the universe was made of stardust, and I was like, no, God made everything. But she was trying to explain to me, like, yeah, Stardust. She was
Yeah.
trying to explain to me about how everything in the world is made, in the universe is made out of stardust, and none of that made any sense to me. Like, I was like, so you're telling me that, like, stardust came down to Earth and, like, made its way into my mom's womb, and I was made of stardust. Like, it just didn't make any sense up until I took that or went to that lecture of Angela's and read some of her papers, and it started to click for me that it's not that literal, and
Yeah.
this was more like indoctrination. I mean, it is everything is literally made of stardust, but it's not literally this floating magic thing that I was imagining when I was
Mhm.
12. Um, yeah, and the interest I think that I took, had her like, yeah, come join my team. She explained to me kind of, what we do, had me watch some videos. And she gave me a star to model. The star was VX Andromeda.
Mhm.
Um, and I used this software called Dusty. It's written in a coding language called Fortran that I think the coding language was made in the 70s. The code itself was made in the 90s that we use. And it's a lot of lines. Like I had somebody ask me the other day, why don't you just rewrite it? Oh, it was my dad actually. My dad was like, send me the code. Let me see if I can get AI to rewrite it. And I was like, okay. Like
Good luck.
yeah, it's a lot of, I don't think you're really understanding like how complex, I don't even understand how complex this
Mhm.
code is. Like there's a much easier, in my opinion, no, it's easier than Fortran actually. That's definitely not an opinion. That's just fact.
Mhm.
Python, I've
Yeah.
used I've made a Python code that will run the Fortran code for me, so I don't really ever have to touch it anymore. I know many of us on the team have done that, but anyways, I'm so sorry. She gave me a star, and told me, get some of this data from online. There's observational data that we have in the star, and we can
Mhm.
model a spectra of the star, to kind of get some information about it, through the code. So the code has different parameters that you can mess with, like the temperature of the star. We study AGB stars specifically. They're like dying stars. So
Mhm.
I've explained AGB stars as like a heartbeat in a way. Like it's something beating. Angela hates it when I do this actually, because I've sometimes I don't say that it's like it's slow. It's not like beep 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 beep,
Yeah.
but um the star will like expand and contract, and doing this like dust shells can be released from it because they just stay there. It doesn't push the dust out. The dust stays there when the star contracts. But uh excuse me, these stars are like shedding themselves essentially because they're dying.
Mhm.
Um and we model these sorts of stars, and we want to know like what the dust around the stars is made out of and what that temperature is as well. The more parameters that you can mess with the code. Um, and I mean, there's things that you can infer about a specific star you're modeling from like literature, because people will publish things about these stars and they observe them. Um, but a lot of it is, in my opinion, just like a guess and check. Like, especially when it comes down to the composition of
Mhm.
the dust shells around these stars, it's just like, well, I see a feature here, let's try this much of this composition.
Right.
Or I don't know, this right here is a little bit too big. Let's remove some of this composition. I don't know where to put it. Let's put it here, I guess. Like there's a lot of guess and check, I feel, with it. And it can get frustrating, especially I remember when I first started doing this with Angela, I was doing it on Google Sheets. Like I was
Yeah.
getting the data from Dusty,
Yeah.
copy pasting it in Google
That's what I was
Sheets.
doing when I started.
Oh my God, like thinking back, I like because now it takes me like maybe 15 seconds, which I still think is too long. Like I wanna use our colleague Dr. Michael Preston's code
Yeah.
um, to like kind of streamline some things. But it probably took me a good 5 minutes to like copy paste the data,
Hmm.
get it normalized, go back to where the graph was because it was on a different sheet within the thing. It just took a while, and then also my previous models weren't saved. Like I wasn't just saving every single graph.
Oh,
So every time I
yeah.
changed something, I was kind of like, oh. And I've got ADHD. Like I forget things so easily. So it would be like, oh man, I don't know what changed. I don't know if this is
Yeah.
better or worse. Like I can like control Z and kind of go back, but again, that process like took a while. Nowadays, I can just like cycle through the photos because they're even
Hmm.
if they're not saved, there's like a record of them in
Yeah.
Python. Um, yeah, so I modeled that star for a while. Like I don't know, I want to say like a good year and a half as an undergrad, and then after yeah, when the summer started to come up, Angela, there's these opportunities for undergrads that are in science majors called REUs. They're research experiences for undergrads. And Angela had told me that there was an REU opening up at UTSA. They were going to do an exchange program. There was also going to be some lab work, and that lab work has always interested me so much. But when I decided on astronomy, I kind of gave up on lab work. I never really thought about people doing lab work in astronomy. It just
Yeah.
wasn't really on my brain. It didn't really make sense to me. Um, but Angela had told me that they had like a lab position opening up where you anneal, which means to heat up very slowly. Um, where we anneal stardust analog, so it's not real stardust, but it's the same material as what is around the AGB stars that we study. So we want to anneal these stardust analogs in the lab to kind of see what they do at like stardust temperatures, also to see its thermal evolution. So, oh, Angela compares graphite and diamond a lot. I mean, I don't actually think that you can compress graphite to make a diamond. That's just a little myth, wives' tale. Um, but they are polymorphs of each other. And in the lab, we can cook something up to make, oh, maybe you could heat graphite. Finest, do you know the answer to that?
Do not.
Right. Okay. I don't know. I don't know, but I know in the lab we can heat up different stardust analogs and watch it go through these different polymorphs that are graphite is carbon, diamonds carbon. They're
Hmm.
polymorphs of each other. They're
Right.
the same chemical composition, but they've got different crystal structures, which is why they
Hmm.
look different and behave differently. But we can anneal different Stardust analogs, watch it go through its polymorphs, and we can tell some things about this. We can also get different data to put into the Dusty code that I was just talking about from these Stardust analogs, because people have kind of overlooked polymorphs, especially the alumina polymorphs. But we can see that they have different constants that are attached to them in the data. So they definitely behave differently. They have different features in the spectra. Like when I was talking about the guess and check with the compositions, if we add in these like different polymorphs of things, there's different features there. So there's definitely relevance to the different polymorphs of materials, period. Um, so we started investigating those. I spent like another year and a half, I think, maybe just a year, cooking up stardust. That's how I said it. I almost caught myself on fire in the lab in the middle of the night once. This was kind of a dangerous job because the oven, I mean, like they're dying stars, right? But they're still relative to us, that are like we're like 98 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius. Um, and stars are hot, even the dying ones. Like the ones that or in the oven, we would get it to like 1200 degrees Celsius at its max, and everything would be like glowing red in there. And that's how I almost caught myself on fire. It was leaving the oven open too long, messing with things in the oven while all that heat was blasting
Yeah.
at me. And I felt my hand while I was like holding tongs, trying to, it was so hot that it was the temperature that our crucibles are fired at when they're in like the kiln and they're being made.
Right.
And because of that, the lids on our crucibles were kind of fusing to the cups.
Yeah.
In this specific experiment, there were nanoparticles. We don't know the health risks of inhaling nanoparticles. There
Mm.
probably are some. And there's probably so many health risks in that lab specifically, to be honest with you. But that's all I'm going to say about that part. But um, anyways, we don't want these things like breaking, shattering. We don't even want the lid off, like when we're out. Like I worked with the nanoparticles under a fume hood, so I was trying to like get the lids to a point where they weren't like sticking. And sometimes the samples would fuse to each other too, and I was trying to fix that. Um, anyways, my hand starts hurting, and I thought, that's weird. My hand's burning, and I'm continuing to work in the oven. Like I didn't even
Yeah.
connect the dots, and then I saw smoke coming off of my like heat gloves, and it had me like, oh, it's me. I'm literally burning. That's not a weird. That's not in my head. I gotta close this oven, and it was like 2 in the morning. Like there was probably nobody in the building besides maybe a couple of people. But yeah, that was terrifying. But it was a fun job actually. I really liked the lab. Um, yeah, so I did that for a little while. I would love to go back to lab work, but I'd have to convince our boss to let me do that. Yeah, and now I'm back to modeling, not VX Andromeda like I was talking about before. That is a C-rich AGB star, so
Mm.
it's pretty heavy in carbon in its dust shells. And it's in, I don't remember, I think it's oxygen and then carbon, but I know there's like a life
Yeah.
cycle with the stars like that. Um, where it's like the AGB stars, there's an O type, there's a C type, there's also like a unity. I don't remember exactly what that type is called,
I
but the
think it's
ratio
a
is
S
like
type.
1 to 1. Um, um, yeah, but now I'm modeling O-rich stars because in the lab we were cooking up alumina, which is it's aluminum bearing mineral. It's Al2O3, but we were cooking up alumina dust. There's a lot of different aluminum bearing pre-solar grains um, that have been found around dust shells in O-rich AGB stars. And we wanted to start investigating that, kind of tying in meteoritic data because they've got their own optical constants.
Mm.
Um, they've got different parameters for what these different things have to be at. We want to apply those parameters to the modeling, so that we kind of already have whatever their ranges are instead of just kind of this broad guess and check, and trying to see if we can model stars easier and with better matches. So I started with RX Boo, which is a AGB star that our other colleague Sean Dillon was modeling, using those polymorphs that I was talking about that we cooked up in the lab, in the composition to see if we could get a better fit. Um, in my opinion, I did get a better fit, and I still want to tweak it a little bit. Um, yeah, but that's kind of where my research is at now. That was kind of undergrad up through graduating because I've been kind of just nonstop doing research.
Yeah.
Research. I stopped the summer I graduated, and that was the only break I've taken since I've joined the team. Um, yeah, and now we're working on this as a project for like my master's and my dissertation.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Again, I knew a good majority of that. But now
Yeah.
my question is, what's so like what do you want to so let's like kind of move forward a little bit. Like when you graduate, what's the plan? Do you have an idea of academia, industry? Ideally, like what type of position, and do you want to do mostly research, only research, research and teaching? Like what's the end game for you?
So I like academia. I've kind of made the joke that I'll always be in school. Like I'll
Mhm.
always be learning. I don't really ever want to leave school. And a lot of my friends think I'm crazy for that, but it's just a comfortable environment for me. I've just always liked school. Um, I have been told that I need to get out of academia as fast as I possibly can, though. So I don't really know where to stand there.
Interesting.
The plan in my brain has always, it's about like funding, why they say get out of it. and I there are definitely environments where it's not great for women. Um, UTSA is not one of them, but
Mm.
um, in physics, it's hard to find programs like UTSA. But my plan has always been academia. I hate teaching, if I'm being honest with you.
Really?
I don't like dealing with students. I had a student last semester that emailed me right before grades were due and said, "I'm so sorry. I don't know if you noticed, I didn't turn in most of my labs. I thought the due dates were just suggestions. I didn't know they were like actual deadlines."
Mm.
And it like broke my brain. Like I just wanted to yell at him. But you can't yell at students like that. Like you just got to be like, "No." No, you have to like calmly say no. Thankfully, it's over like an email, but I've dealt with a handful of students that have been really rude to me, demanded that I grade their totally checked exams that they turned in late. They're just I don't like dealing with students, to be honest with you. I like showing kindness to students when
Mm.
it's like applicable. Like I had a student reach out like, "Oh man." Oh, actually, no, I reached out to that student saying, "Hey, you haven't turned in like a certain amount of labs. You're gonna fail." That's kind of how the policy works in the
Yeah.
syllabus. And they were like, "Oh, well, can I turn them in? I've been really going through a hard time. I'm not sure what to do." And I ended up sending them like kind of a long email, like, "No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I don't have the because I'm just a TA. There's somebody above me. Like the only person that can make my decision is my supervisor." I don't really think he's going to do that with the circumstances, but like, here's a list of options for you, and I finished the email with like, if no matter what option you take and you fail this course, it's not a mark on you. You are not failing, you can come back and you can take the course and you can try again, and you'll even have a leg up because of like all this stuff. Like, you're fine, you're doing fine, just like keep going. It's all good. And that student emailed me back like, "Well, I'm crying now. Thanks." That made me feel like supported, and then that made me cry. But I like giving that kind of kindness to students, even if I can't help them, like reminding them that it's okay. Like
Yeah.
nobody's mad at you. You didn't do anything wrong. Just like try again. It's okay. That I feel like that's really what defines you. So I like mentorship. That's kind of what I ended up
Yeah.
figuring out. I like mentorship, and I think that's another reason I want to stay in academia. I feel like it's easier to find people to mentor. But I think about like what Angela did for me because I wasn't very confident when I joined the team, especially in like science. I don't think I would have called myself a physicist. When I first joined the team, I felt like I didn't know what I was talking about. Well, okay, I still feel that way actually a lot of the times, but it's better. It's better. I know that like I'm growing and I'm learning, and it's okay if I don't get everything right,
Mm.
and I mess. It doesn't mean that I'm stupid. So in that aspect, I've grown a lot. And a lot of it is just because Angela's like watered me, like a little plant. And there's other
Yeah.
like women and people that have watered me like that. I would really like to give back and do that for people, make them feel the way that I do right now, and help build them, I don't know if I would have like really done anything in physics if it hadn't been for Angela. Like I might have just gotten my bachelor's and then I've been a math tutor. I don't know. Worked at a
Yeah.
museum. Like I probably wouldn't have done anything with my degree and been kind of sad about it. But no, no, but I've she's given me a lot of opportunities and I've loved them, and I'd love to do that for somebody else one day. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I think you know, what you did in terms of kind of letting them know it's okay. I think that's super important, even if you're just a TA or somebody in a mentorship position, because like you said, it's not always, sunshine and rainbows. Like in undergrad, I failed a physics, I think physics one or physics two. I failed one of those the first time. And I was like, oh, well, this is it. But, like you said, I retook it, passed it the second time. And I know at Mizzou, if you failed one class, there is a form you could fill out to kind of, there's like a form you could fill out to where if you took it the second time and you passed it, it kind of gets waived. So there are resources. And I think that is important. People that are like their passion is physics, but maybe they fail a lab or fail a course. It's okay. One time it's okay, at least, two or three times, you know, might be a different story. But even then, you can still bounce back
You
from.
can. I'm evidence of it. Actually, I'm like a little bit nervous about putting this on the internet, but I'm pretty confident my parents are not going to find this because I'd never told them this. I like made up a story. Anyways, so I had a bunch of different majors leading up to physics, right? I failed a lot of courses, like a lot of them. I think I failed Cal 1 twice. And I remember I got put on academic probation on a spring
Mhm.
semester. It was like just for it was like a semester, so the summer counted. So I just went back in the fall. And I remember I didn't realize that when I took calculus that second time, I didn't realize that it was a 4 credit hour class. So I was trying to like determine what my grades needed to be to stay in school and to like help my academic probation, what's like the minimum. And there was like a history class that I got a C in and chemistry, God, chemistry was bad. I think I failed chemistry 3 times before I finally passed Gen Chem 1. I'm still to this day, I hate chemistry, and there's another story for Gen Chem 2. But uh um yeah, but I remember when my grades came back and my GPA like updated, it was below what it needed to be for me to stay in school, and I got kicked out for a whole year. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to tell my parents about this. Still haven't, and it's been years. Um, I'm just gonna go to community college for a bit and tell them that it's so that I can get those calculus credits,
Mhm.
because I can't do it at UTSA. Like, it's impossible for me for some reason. And I did actually pass all those classes. I passed calculus 1 and 2. I don't think I had time for 3. And then COVID actually hit that semester too, that I started doing community college. I am really grateful for that. I actually think you should be going to community college first and then university, unless there's some sort of scholarship reason, just because they're easier there. It's not so intense. And you don't need it to be that intense straight out of high school or straight out of whatever you might be going through when you enter college. Like, I think you should start with community college. That's just my opinion. But then I came back to UTSA after the academic probation, and I still I think that was actually when I came back. I passed Gen Chem 1 because I still didn't pass it when I was at the community college. Um, I gave Gen Chem 2 a try, couldn't do it. So I just studied my ass off for the CLEP, and I passed the CLEP, and I got the chemistry credit that way
Yeah.
that I needed to graduate. I think I failed quantum mechanics twice. It was definitely more than once. It's definitely more than once. And that was when I finally passed that class, I cried. Like the grades came back. I remember I got like a 93 or something on the final. Like and I hurt my health studying for that class.
Yeah.
I'm a mom, okay? So the way that I did my days the month leading up to the final exam was I'd get up every morning at actually I would get up every morning at 4. I'd study for like 2 hours, get my son up, get him ready for school, take him to school, study again. Like I was watching these videos that he had and trying to take down all my notes that I needed and
Mhm.
figure out what formulas I needed on the sheet. Um, and reading the book, doing some old homeworks too. But anyways, I did that until I had to leave for class, which is usually at like 9. I'd go to class, um, go pick up my son, pick up my little brother because I also pick him up from school, go back home, and I'd get home at around 6 p.m. at that point, maybe 7. I would eat, get my son to bed, study again until midnight, and then sleep until 4, and then do it all again. So I only got like 4 hours of sleep max. Sometimes I would get up earlier. Um, for like a month, I was exhausted. I was crying all the time. Like I had exams come back in that time that were not the grade that I needed, and that like my final grade that I needed ended up getting higher and higher, and I just
Yeah.
thought it was going to be impossible. Like I've never gotten more than like a 75 on one of this man's exams. There's no way I'm going to get the like 86 that I need. It's just not possible. Um, no, but I really worked. And then when that grade came out, when it said 93 for the final, I emailed him and I was like, hi, I need you to know I'm not complaining. I just wanted to make sure that the grade that was put into the system is correct and that I did indeed pass this class. And he emailed me back. It was like, no, no, you did. I was really, this man does not give compliments. He's mean. He's very mean. I think he enjoys bullying students, to be honest with you. But he emailed me back and told me he was impressed with me. I made a joke about printing out that email because it was very nice of him to say that. And I can't believe I did that well. I still kind of can't believe it. I don't even remember a lot of it, to be honest with you. Like any of that period of time, just don't remember it. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, lots of failures. Definitely lots of failures. But I've made good relationships with faculty at UTSA, like either
Mhm.
by working for them as a grader or by encouraging their students, or just like personal conversations I've had with them. And I had three people when I applied for grad school at UTSA, on the committee stand up for me when some of the people on the committee did not want me to get in because my grades were as terrible as I just said they were.
Mhm.
And that whole history too. But I had some people stand up for me. I don't really want to name names, to be honest with you, but there were some like higher ups and some people that published some really good research and come from a good university, and then I guess another higher up. But yeah, I think that them standing up for me and things that I did that way, got me into school, got me into grad school, at least. Like there were other ways that I showed my merit. Now I've gotten A's and B's in all my classes.
There you go.
So I'm going to be applying for the PhD program, and Angela's pretty confident I'm going to get into that. Because that was their only complaint was my grades, and I've proved them wrong. The people that got, yay! The people that did not want me in got proven wrong. So, and you know what? That's how I thrive too, as villains.
Oh, 100%. Great motivators.
Yeah, they really are. I don't know if that's toxic or not. I mean, it's not like I am actually going back and rubbing it in their. Okay, wait a minute. Once I did that, but most of the time, I don't go back and like rub it in their face, like you were my villain and you motivated me, and screw you. Um, I usually, well, I mean, I'm always doing it for me, but I usually just let it go. Those people
Yeah.
usually just leave my life, to be honest with you. Like I'm not connected with them anymore, or around them anymore, so.
Yeah. Quantum is tough. I actually found, oh, maybe earlier last year, I found my E&M homework from the first uh couple semesters of grad school. I was
Mhm.
reading it. I was like, I have no idea what any of this means. I I and I feel like that's part of the problem with some curriculum is like you study for the test, you study for the exam. You don't study to like retain the material. So as soon as that class is over, I passed it. Especially now, I mean, I don't do much, especially in the research. I'm not doing much quantum. I do more chemistry than quantum, probably.
Yeah,
Well, not probably. So it's like a lot of stuff just leaves your brain. And then if you do need it, you kind of just go back and learn what you need to learn for your research and kind of move forward. And
yeah,
that's one motivation for me is I want to one of my big dreams is I want to like set the standard for how curriculum should be nowadays. Because we all know like standardized testing, there's no correlation between standardized testing and how well you do in grad school. Like I took the GRE, extremely average. I might have been a little bit below average on my GRE. Um, and test score is not impressive. And like you said, making connections with the right people, that's kind of how I got into grad school. Because if you're going off just my GPA and my test scores, probably wouldn't get in.
hmm
But like you said, there's other ways to show your merit and how you can contribute to the science community besides just a test that you take.
yeah. My CV looked good. I'll say that. My transcript,
Oh yeah,
but my CV, that looked good. That looked really good.
yeah. Building a CV is crucial.
I have news interviews on my CV.
Yeah. I do want to take this time real quick to shout out our boss, Dr. Angela Speck. So if you guys want to, she has a lot of like educational videos, things like, I mean, she's got 132 videos. If you want to check out at Angela Speck _ Stardust Speck, she has all kinds of stuff here, different videos and playlists. If you Google her, she's got all types of interviews and stuff she's done on the news. So again, shout out to Stardust Spec. So I wanted to take time to shout that out. Now, I want to talk a little first before I get to this next one, because you talked about kind of the struggles you had being a woman in physics. And I can kind of relate from a standpoint of being a minority, because I think in my undergrad, I don't remember if I had a black I'm trying to think. At Mizzou, I don't remember ever having a black teacher or professor. So what if as deep as you want to go, if you don't want to talk too deep about it, that's fine. But what are like the struggles that you've had to face or things that people might not think about or realize about being a woman in physics?
Yeah. So I mean, I told the story about high school, but even more recently, this was actually also in it wasn't a physics lab class. Like it's not the ones that we TA, but it was a lab day in a
Mhm.
physics class. So we went to the lab. And we were just, taking measurements and stuff. And me and the girl next to me were really enjoying getting to know each other. We were also doing our work, but we weren't like serious. Like we weren't like just solely focused on the work. We were getting it done while also having a conversation. And there were two other men in our group. Um, and me and the other woman are like measuring things. It was like an optics bench, and we were measuring like focal points and distances from the light source. But I remember we made a measurement and we told the guy, one of the men in our group, like, oh, it's this, it's 17 centimeters, whatever. And he looked at the man next to him and was like, will you measure that? And asked him to like remeasure it. And it was 17 centimeters, but it had me like, mm, okay. Like maybe it has something to do with us talking, but it's like there have been a couple of times where men in labs specifically will like double check just to make sure. And you notice that they don't do that to their male peers.
Yeah.
Um, I remember I was having a conversation like this with another woman in physics, and she shared with me that in her department she had been in the lab doing something, and I think she pulled like a screwdriver out from the toolbox or something, and the man had asked her, do you know how to use that, or do you want me to do it?" And it had her like, excuse me, like it's a screwdriver. Yeah, I know how to use it. It's just kind of mostly it's like microaggressions nowadays.
Mhm.
Like I don't think I've been directly called out for being a woman since that high school class, where it's like, oh well, I mean, I have, but not in physics. Like I actually had a friend the other day that sarcastically, he's always sarcastic. I'm actually like I kind of had to sit down with him and be like, look, I like sarcasm's fine, but like the fact that everything that comes out of your mouth is sarcastic and just mean, I don't really like mean people. Like I don't really have a problem with you, but I'm not really going to continue being friends with you if literally everything you say is mean. Everything. Like you don't ever have a kind word to say. That's just crazy to me. But this friend was talking to my fiance, and I was already talking to my fiance, but he joined into the conversation. I don't remember what he said, but I responded, and he said something like, "Honey, the men are talking. So why don't you just sit over there and let us talk?" And it triggered me from high school. Like it triggered me. It was almost the same thing that was said to me, and I got super heated. And he was like, "It was a joke, calm down." And I was like, "It was not funny. It wasn't funny." And like, do you realize what I do? And like the things that people have said to me. Somebody said that to me in a physics class, and his response was, "Well, was he being sarcastic?" Like it was just immediately defense towards the man that he doesn't even know versus the woman that he's known for years sitting in front of him right now. Like and I had to like be like, "No, it was not sarcasm." Like he absolutely 100% meant it. It was a whole issue. The fact that you're even checking me right now has gotten me like even worse. He did apologize, and I explained to him like even if you're kidding with me, that is a triggering thing for me. Didn't feel good hearing my friend say that specific thing to me. Even my best friend is a physicist, and he's even got moments sometimes where, I mean, I don't think he necessarily does it in a physics or an astronomy setting, but he does just always kind of check me on things that I like normally do. Man, I can't even bring an example right now. It'll be like I don't know where my keys are. I lost my keys. And I'll be like, "Well, did you check the hook where they hang?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yes, that was obviously the first place I checked, you know. I don't know if other people do this to others, but it does make me feel like patronized when that I'm not going to name his name. You know him though. I'll tell you that. But he'll do things like that. I even remember this one time I really wanted to go do things with my fiance for my birthday. Like I specifically was like, I want to go do these things with him. I've done birthday things alone prior to him. You know, I've just gone out and been like, screw it. I'm gonna do all these things alone. But now I have a partner, so I really want to go do them with my partner. Screw the being alone thing. I mean, it's fine, but I want to be with a person now. Um, I do many things on my own though. Um, and a friend we were actually at a comedy show, and the comedian had said something like, raise your hand if you're an independent woman. I raised my hand, and the comedian's joke, it was funny, but he was like, okay, man, you know who to avoid now. But I raised my hand, and the friend that was with me like poked me, and he's like, put your hand down, you're not independent. And I was like, excuse me, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you want to do things with your fiance all the time, you're not independent. And I was like, I don't, what do you mean? I also do things on my own all the time. I just wanted to do things like I made the comment about it like the day before about doing things for my birthday. Um, and he thought it was really funny. He thought it was really, really, really funny to be like, no, you're not independent. Like that was also a triggering thing for me. Those things don't necessarily have to do with physics, so sorry. But
Okay.
it's actually it's kind of hard to comment on experiences when we're at UTSA. There definitely are things, like I had a teacher at UTSA actually. All of us failed his class. I mean, failed his first exam. Every single student failed his first exam. So he told all the students, you have to come into my office individually. We're going to talk about why you failed the exam and what you need to do better. And all of us, I mean, these are small classes. These are like 12, 15 people classes. We all get to know each other. And we all talked to each other about what this professor had said to us in our one-on-one meetings. To all the men, he told them, you just need to study harder. Here's the things that you need to study harder. To all the women, he said, you're not cut out for physics. You're going to fail every exam that I give you. It really doesn't matter what you do. You should just change your major. And the
Wow.
difference, it wasn't explicitly said, but the difference that was noticed there it was big. It was big, and I noticed it with treatment of students too, where this professor, I mean, he kind of picked on everybody, but he definitely picked on the women in the room more. Like there was a student in class one day, a woman in class one day, and I know this student is also openly gay. And she thinks that her being gay also contributed to this too. Like it was a double whammy kind of situation. But I remember like we're in class, we're just taking notes. Like we're not doing a quiz. We're not doing anything that like requires to put your phones away, make sure you're not cheating, you're not looking at people's papers, something like that. But she has her bag on her desk and she's kind of leaning on it like this, like using it almost as a pillow. She's definitely paying attention to class and taking notes, just like it's kind of on the side. Like she's actively participating in class, like absolutely. The teacher stops the lecture though to be like, why's your bag on the desk? Why'd you put that there? Do you have to have that on the desk? And she was like, she immediately, you could tell that she got like anxious. She was just like, I was just like relaxing. I just, is it like a problem? And he was like, I don't know, it's just weird. And then continued on with class. But the fact that he had to like stop the lecture to point that out, like nobody said anything. Don't understand why it's a problem. She's not super tall. There's not even anybody sitting behind her. So it's not like this is somehow impeding someone's view. I don't know. I don't know. So there's a few things, but at UTSA it's honestly not so bad. I feel like a lot of it is an immaturity, and other kinds of experiences like that are like backhanded. Like they're not so obvious.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's the experience that I've had.
Now to move on to some more fun experiences. I know our group has been indulging in the AAS conference, the American Astronomical Society, and we actually just got back from Phoenix, Arizona. And I think the AAS experience has been one of the more fun experiences. But for me, they also kind of want networking. You know, it's really who do you know, the connections you make. And I know for me specifically, I always get some type of perspective or some new insight that's related to my research that kind of get me excited. I kind of get revigorated and re-energized about when I come back. Okay, I know like I get this. I'm gonna do this perspective. I got some good notes from somebody. How has your experiences with conferences in general? Because I know you've been to some outside of AAS, good or bad. How has conference experiences and and getting in front of people and publicly communicating your research been for you?
Ooh, here and there. Definitely here and there. I think I
Mm.
should talk about my first conference experience first. If I remembered the woman's name that made this an awful experience for me, I would absolutely name drop her. I don't remember her name though. But she got reported, so oh, I if that was loud, so sorry. Um, uh, anyways, I'm just gonna send a quick text.
She
Because
famous.
it is somebody that's off of my D&D. That's just texting me random stuff right now. Anyways, sorry. The first conference that I went to was the Conference for Undergraduate Women in Physics. That actually sounds like an awesome thing. I've been told though by several people that have gone to several different like chapters of this conference that they've had awful experiences. So I think it needs to be redone somehow. But there was a panelist at that conference, so she's I forgot what the panel I went to was that she spoke about, to be honest with you. But most of these talks were not about science, actually. They were just about being a woman in a male-dominated field, like imposter syndrome, time management. Like it was mostly just like emotional skills really to learn. And that the talks actually were really good. I remember getting a lot from them. They provided food, they provided the hotel, they would reimburse you for transportation if you sent them like your receipts or whatever. So it's on paper, it's actually a really good conference, but there was a panelist there. I presented my research for the first time, thought it would be a really good practice. Kind of for me, it's only undergrads here that are presenting their research, so I don't have to feel like anybody's like out of my league. I also had like a friend at the time come with me and present the research with me too. So I kind of had like I had a friend, I had a buffer with me. She wasn't super knowledgeable about everything. Like most questions, she just redirected to me, but just still having her there to bounce off of or to
Right.
talk to in like quiet moments. It was really nice for me, and I was really grateful for that. But this woman that's a panelist then comes up to our research, and me and my like partner in this, we like just started out, so we don't know everything about AGB stars. I still don't know everything about AGB stars. I would know how to combat this situation specifically now, but Tiffany then did not know how to combat it. So this woman comes up to me and she looks at, the parameters that I said I put into Dusty. She sees the dust shell compositions and she sees that my like iron composition is something like 60%. Um, and she's like, "What's this? This is ridiculous. You're saying your star is 60% iron?" And I really wasn't totally aware that we were talking about dust shells. I thought we were just talking about the whole object. So, and I didn't know how to like say that. I mean, we are just really talking about dust shells here, but I had said something like, well, I mean, it just worked in the models. This is what worked for it to fit this well. I don't, I'm not even really sure what you're like referencing right now. And she was like, no, like stars, if they've got any amount of iron in them, they're dead. They're just dead. Like it's not even possible for them to be bright enough this far away for you to get observations. So this is just nonsense. All of this is just nonsense. Does your advisor even know that you're here right now presenting this and you put her name on this? Like, or what, you just came here without her permission? And I was like, I don't know. And this woman has a doctorate. She was one of the panelists. She was like giving me advice earlier. I mean, giving the whole room advice, but like she was somebody that I saw as like authoritarian, in a way. Um, and I remember I messaged Angela right then, like, oh my God. She didn't check my poster before I went too. Like I remember being nervous about that and her just being like, you're fine. You're fine. It's fine. So that made me more nervous. Like I was like, oh God, I really didn't show her my poster. So I was like, okay, here's what just happened. This woman said that my star has too much iron, that my star's dead, that this is ridiculous, and that I just put out bad research. What did I do wrong? And Angela, like, she got pissed, not me, right? But she was pissed. She was like, this woman at this undergrad conference just like cornered you, talking to you like this. She looked up this woman's CV, her whole employment history. Don't know how she found the jobs that she applied for and didn't get, but somehow she had that information when she texted me like 20 minutes later. Like this woman has no background to be telling you about this. Her research had nothing to do with stars or dust. So like for her to comment on it like this and to say such mean things to you is absolutely ridiculous. She reported her to the people that ran the conference, and she went on a Twitter rant about this woman. But that was my first conference experience. Not fantastic, but it was great that my advisor stood up for me the way that she did, and that, was a good experience. So everything outside of AAS has been awful. Oh, it's just one thing, right? But the one thing outside of AAS was awful. Presenting at AAS, I mean, I have had people that kind of question me. Nobody has said anything to me like, this is ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense. Like people just ask me questions like, what is this? Or what are you doing here? If I'm not quite at their knowledge level, they might fill in some gaps for me. Um, I mean, I have had some almost aggressive experiences where people have been like, so what's the point of this? But like, why? Okay, anyways, and then they walk away. But that's it. Like that's as bad as it really gets at AAS. I'm always nervous. That's not true. All but when we were in Alaska, I've been nervous to present. Like I just feel like somebody's gonna say something, and I'm gonna get called out for not knowing certain information, or I'm gonna feel stupid. There's so many like anxiety scenarios that run in my head prior to presenting, and that happened in Phoenix for sure. But in Alaska, I've had presented that specific presentation. Oh, I have had one other thing. I'd presented that specific presentation several times. I'd even used it as a final for my last semester in undergrad, because we were told to pick any like astrophysics topic and present on it for, I think it was 7 minutes. And I remember telling, it was the teacher was Eric Schlegel, but I remember telling Dr. Schlegel like, I'm winging it. I'm winging this right now. And he was like, I don't think you want to tell your professor you're winging your final. And I was like, look, I'm not saying I don't know the information. I'm just saying I haven't practiced this because I mixed together. I've always presented the lab stuff I was talking about earlier and the
Right.
modeling separately. Like
Mm.
this last presentation was the closest I've come to really unifying them in at a conference. But I always end up talking about the other one. When I've done modeling, I end up talking about lab stuff and what people are doing in the lab. When I present lab stuff, I talk about modeling. And like that's what it can be important for. But I decided I'm just literally going to pull up my posters that I've done on these two different things and go back and forth talking about them and how they relate to each other. And I can literally go any amount of time. I can be 3 minutes, I can be 15 minutes. It depends on what you need. Like I'll go last and we can figure out how I fill out the rest of it. But I actually did really well on that presentation for class. But I kind of had the same energy in Alaska because I've just done it so many times. And I've also presented at a DPS, which is owned by AAS. So I don't know if it counts as really a separate conference. Um, and that one I wasn't, I mean, I was nervous for because my like lab supervisor was literally right next to me, and he this is actually Angela's husband, Alan. Have you ever worked for him before?
I have not.
Oh, okay, he's great. First off, he's great. I'm not trying to like speak bad about Alan right now, but the way that he like edits your stuff. Because he wants you to send him your poster and, whatever you're doing, your paper, whatever it is. Like the way that he leaves notes, I remember I gave him my poster and he left me like it was literally 3 paragraphs of notes of revisions, and I thought that my poster was good. So when I got all of those revisions, I was like, "Oh God, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna spend the day tackling this now." And I did every revision he asked of me, sent it back to him. He sent me back 2 more paragraphs. Like it was like, okay, now let's do this part. It's like he held off
Yeah.
sending all of it so that it wouldn't totally overwhelm me, but it still had me like, "Wah." I thought I perfected it. I really thought I did. And he does that back and forth like 4 or 5 times
Mhm.
before he's like, okay. And I mean, Angela makes little revisions, to be honest with you. Like, I've sent her proposals, and I mean, she's like kind of taking it apart, but it's not the way that Alan does. Not at all. Um, anyways, yeah, so I was nervous having this man that just revised the hell out of my poster over the course of the last couple of weeks, presenting right next to me. Like, I thought he was going to check me on everything I got wrong. This is like a geology planetary conference. So
Right.
most of the people that go to this conference are geologists, chemists, and there's a handful of planetary like physicists that come. Um, so that conference was stressful because Alan was next to me, but not stressful because mine is all astrophysics. My like presentation. There's a handful of, little geological things here, like when we're talking about polymorphs and crystal structures. And there's a little bit of chemistry when we're talking about like the specific things that we're annealing. But mostly it's physics. And geologists don't know physics. So they're like, we don't know geology like that, right? They don't know physics like that because they're not our specialties. So it was a little bit less daunting. Like I was pretty confident nobody was going to be like, nope, you're wrong here. That's not how that works. Because they didn't know. So conferences are great, actually. I really liked them. Overall, even the one, the even QWIP, the undergraduate women's conference, um, overall was a good experience. Like, I did make friends with like a West Point physics instructor. Um, I mean, well, we don't still talk, but that was like it was just a good time hanging out with that woman. Um, I had a friend there, and while we were there, we had a good time, and I enjoyed my time with that friend, just like exploring Fort Worth and taking photos together in the planetarium.
Yeah. Planetarium.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, overall, it was a pretty good experience. There was just like one thing that like kind of tainted it at the time.
Perfect. So being a part of the Stardust group, there's a lot of outreach that is done. Especially we talk about eclipses, especially since the San Antonio got the annular and the total solar eclipse. Is from your perspective, is outreach kind of a and real quick for context, for those that might not know, when you give a poster at like a conference, like for like AAS, you have like this monitor because it's a digital poster, and you just stand in front of it. People just come up to you, ask you questions. So I remember I think my first one, I did get some like hardcore, like they were digging, and digging is you don't know if they're trying to test you because they know or if they're genuinely just
Wiring.
curious. Right. So it is a little bit of like this daunting, like, oh my God, I hope I don't have somebody come up just being that guy or that gal or that person that's like, oh, but why'd you do this? Well, if you do this, and that, and then you're just like, wait, like what's going on? So it's definitely daunting. I know after my third one, I got to the point where I don't even know if confidence is the word I would use, but I got to the point where if they come up and try to really dig in on me, I had like some lines I would use to kind of just like diffuse or kind of like deflect. They'd ask some questions like, "Oh, that's what I'm working on right now." I would just
Hmm.
leave it at that. Or there's some things in my poster because some posters it's like current work you're doing. And I notice that if there's certain things, like for example, I have this thing called MAT in my heat maps, where it's the mass times age divided by the temperature, and we're trying to quantify the complex relationship between the mass of the star and the temperature of the star based on how long it's been in the planetary nebula phase. Where currently I'm still trying to figure out what exactly that means with these correlations, if there is any. But I notice if I get out in front of it, like, hey, this right here, this feature, I'll talk about it just so you know what it is. I'm still working on it. Don't quite yet know what this actually means. And then just kind of do that and move on. I noticed they won't ask questions about it. So I used to get questions about it all the time. It's like, well, what does that mean? I'm just like, well, we're still figuring it out. And, oh, you're still figuring it out? Well, you have it on the heat map, this and the third. I kind of just started to figure out like some lingo to use to let them know I'm working on this right now. This is my research. This is what I've done. This is the future works. A lot of this stuff is I'm still working on, still trying to figure out, still going through analysis. And I noticed that for me, that kind of calms down those nitpickers or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but outreach for me personally, outreach is a big part of one of the things I want to get into.
Hmm.
How is your experiences with outreach in the Stardust group? How does that help you? Does it do you have interest in doing it after graduation, stuff like that?
Yeah, I've done under Angela, right? I probably wouldn't have thought too much about outreach prior to her. Like I just wouldn't have really thought about it. I mean, if I would have gone to conferences without her, it might have popped up because I definitely have done some outreach, like just started projects on
Mm.
my own. Um, like actually there was the biggest project I did during the eclipse was definitely something I just started doing. Like Angela didn't ask me to do that or direct me to find something. I was just like, this is cool. And then when she started paying me for eclipse stuff, she was like, I'll pay you for that too. Um, but we went to my first AAS in Albuquerque. There was this woman, Sherilyn Morrow, at Southwest Research Institute in Colorado. Love her. She works for the Punch outreach team. Um, she the Punch mission is about putting satellites up over the Earth to monitor the solar corona. Like it's about monitoring the sun is the whole gist of it. So she started outreaching to like the Native American tribes um, in America, really, but mostly I guess in the New Mexico area. Um, and figuring out how they watched the sun, and observed it um, in ancient times and now, how that's like carried over culturally. And I mean, they learned this thing that during the eclipse, this was actually super fun to do. But if you like get small enough holes in between your fingers and let the sun go through those holes, like the light from it, you can actually see the shape of the sun. So during the eclipse, we saw like it looked like a little moon, bunch of little moons on the ground, and that's how Native Americans would view the sun in ancient times. And now, actually, they still definitely do it now. Yeah, but she brought these. She also wanted to start involving blind and low vision learners into solar watching because I mean, that's like a whole population. I think it's something like 1 to 2% of the nation that's blind, but that's like a whole population that you're cutting off from solar watching, and there are people that are interested in that. You don't necessarily need to see to do these things. But she made thermal forms, so they're like raised, it's almost like a piece of paper. I mean, it's plastic, but it's thin enough that it's kind of like a piece of paper, and it's raised so that you can feel out details in a photo. And a lot of different institutions have started implementing thermal forms, actually. Like Chandra at AAS had some thermal forms with Braille describing different images and what the different textures of the image were. They did a really good job at their images, actually. Um, anyways, so Sherilyn brought these thermal forms, and I was just immediately so interested in them. Like I had never met this woman before, but as soon as she was done with her talk, I like mesmerized, walked up to the front where she was and just started playing with the thermal forms. I mean, she invited people to do that, but I was very interested in them. We connected that way. One of our colleagues, Cody Cly, was already connected with her, and I didn't realize that. when I approached her, but I think that kind of helped my connection with her, that me and Cody were getting closer, and I was interested in these thermal forms. So I believe she actually sent me back to San Antonio with thermal forms. And she's continued to give me updated versions every time I see her. Um, and they've gotten better. They've definitely gotten better. But I took those thermal forms to different blind like clubs and institutions around San Antonio. There's like an elderly club that meets, and they're specifically blind, low vision, elderly people. I think they're actually from like well, my grandma hates it when I call it the wrong thing, so I don't want to call it the wrong thing on the internet. The apartments for the elderly.
Yeah.
I forgot what they're called, but uh, I'm pretty sure they come from one of those places and they bust them over. But I gave them a PowerPoint on like what an eclipse is. I let them feel the thermal forms. We also had audio because we're in San Antonio. There's a large Spanish speaking population here. I don't speak Spanish. I feel like I really need to learn because of where I am, because it's come up a number of times. And I know I look Hispanic to a lot of people, and that kind of encourages them to speak Spanish to me when I just don't know it. So I had our other colleague, Milcar, um, make Spanish translations of like what the thermal forms were based off of my English script. So we also had an audio of
Mm.
everything just in case people were having like a hard time discerning what exactly they were looking at with their hands. Um, and then I met another woman at the same conference, but at a workshop, and she talked about these boxes that she had developed a code for using like a light sensor. It would take in light from the light sensor, and a code would convert that light into a musical sound. So, like if the light's really intense, it's really bright, it'll play a higher pitch sound. I think it's like a flute. That's the highest pitch that it does, and
Mhm.
it'll be different tones of it. And then it'll go down through like clarinet. And there's I forgot what all the other ones were, but the lowest when there's like no light is just a clicking. So during the eclipse, you could give these boxes to blind or low vision people. They could plug into the box to listen either through a speaker. I actually used one at the zoo with a speaker, um, and and they could hear the eclipse essentially as the clouds were going over in San Antonio. That's how it worked, right? But during the annular, as it got dimmer, you could hear it. I don't remember if it got down totally to the clicking noise, but yeah, that was I think I we did two workshops, and then I also built a bunch of boxes actually just in my own home before the eclipse. But I think we distributed something like 40, 50 boxes across San Antonio to different like blind institutions for them to give out to their members or to give out to people that came to their events. There was a Owl Radio in San Antonio. They're a blind radio service. I mean, the people that run it are sighted actually, but they're a service for blind members and they get together and do events. But they had their own eclipse event actually, and they had a blind astronaut show up too to that event,
Wow.
and get his own box. But they gave out some boxes there, and I know that we gave them a box like to all the little eclipse stations that we had. I don't know if they all got used, but I know that they were distributed. Um, yeah, that's the outreach I've done for like blind, low vision. And I've gone to some schools and stuff, talked to kids, especially during eclipse time. There's been some like Halloween events and stuff, but during eclipse time it was definitely like
Oh yeah.
full force, full
Yeah.
force. Like I remember I was organizing the volunteers for all the outreach. Like
Mhm.
Angela was paying me, so she was giving me jobs. Um, that was one of them. And trying to wrangle together volunteers for all of these events was such a pain. And there was like, shoot, I would have to go back and look at the form right now, but oh, no, it wasn't Omar. There was a student that came to basically every single outreach event I had, like no matter Dinesh, it was Dinesh. Dinesh
Mm.
came to every single outreach event. Every time I was like, "Hey, I need volunteers," he'd be like, "I'd do it." And almost like towards the end of outreach stuff, I wanted to be like, "Okay, guys, like too much is being put on Dinesh. Like somebody else needs to step up and volunteer because this is a lot." Yeah, but he definitely helped a lot volunteer wise.
That CV is gonna be crazy with all that the outreach stuff.
I didn't even think about adding all the like individual like I've included the news articles related to my outreach, but not the
Mhm.
actual projects. Never thought
Oh,
about
I have
that.
every outreach I've done on my CV.
All the library visits you've done?
That the YouTube videos I make, the stuff we did with those demos with the element
Lamps?
lamps. Yeah,
Yeah.
the spectroscopy demo, all of that stuff. The which is actually it's actually kind of crazy. Went to Bernie High School, and I think it was me and Sebastian. Yeah, we went to Bernie High School, and we did a demo for them for one of their, I think it was an AP physics class. And literally maybe last semester or 2 semesters ago, one of the kids that was in that class ended up being one of my students for the physics lab.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pretty cool, kind of full circle moment. And he
Yeah.
remembered me too, so it was pretty cool.
Was he a physicist? That would be extra cool.
Uh, I mm, I don't remember what his major was. It
I
might
go
have been
through my
engineering.
students' majors. I'm nosy. I want to know like halfway through the semester after I've decided who my favorites and who my least favorites are. They don't get treated differently, to be fair. But I do, I definitely have favorites and least favorites, even in an online class. Um, uh, yeah, but I'll go through their majors just to be like, so what do you do? And I don't know if I should do it at the beginning or in the middle because when I had a student just chat GPT everything, and then I found out in the middle of the semester that he was a AI major, it like broke my heart. I don't know if it would have been better if I knew that before
Before.
that student did those things.
All right, last thing to sign off. What is somebody? First of all, I want to say, um, it's awesome to hear like kind of your academic struggles earlier on. If you to push and persevere, and for you to like not give up on your dream, and look at you now, you're gonna be a future Dr. Tiffany Jensen, astrophysicist. So again, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. But what is a piece of advice for somebody that you would give that maybe wants to get into physics, wants to get into STEM, maybe they're intimidated, they're not sure. I know a lot of people don't just because they think it's too hard, which is not easy, but what's some advice you'd give to somebody that wants to get to STEM or has like a passion for it, but is not sure about pursuing it academically?
I'd say jump in, like literally whatever, because my biggest regret with everything, and I mean, in a way, I'm happy because I like went back through the butterfly effect. If I would
Mhm.
have gone into college as a physics major and, completed all my classes, passed everything, I might not have met you guys. I might not have met Angela. Um, I wouldn't have become so close with my friend Sebastian because we wouldn't have been in that lab together and gotten to know each other in that way. Which means he wouldn't have introduced me to his friend Andy, which means that Andy would have never taken me to the club where I met my fiance. So, like, lots of butterfly effect things. But I would say, if it wasn't for those things, for me personally, I wish I would have just majored in physics and not doubted myself. I mean, there were people in my life that were telling me that I couldn't do it. But I mean, if there's people in your life doing that, if you're doing that to yourself, stop and screw them. Like it's awesome. I think that science is a really awesome field. It can be hard. I failed a lot, but I think when you really love something, like when you're passionate about something,
Mhm.
you will claw yourself out of hell to do it. And I feel like that's what I did. I mean, it is hard. It is very daunting. But with as little faith I had in myself, did it. Like I was waiting for them to be like, oh wait, we made a mistake. You actually forgot this credit or something, but that never happened. And I am on track to get my master's this year now. So, and I don't have doubts in that like I did with my bachelor's, but I would just say keep going. Even if you fail, failures don't define you. It's what you do with your failures and your mistakes or whatever that define you. If you love it, don't give up. And this is an awesome life. I posted recently our trip to Phoenix, and I had people commenting on it like, "Oh my God, you look so happy." And I am really happy. Like my life is not perfect. I don't think anybody's life is perfect, but I love my life. Like I wouldn't trade the life that I have, um, getting to talk about science and just be myself in the astronomy field. You can be weird. You
Yeah.
know, you can be a little bit quirky. It's fine. Nobody really judges you for those sorts of things, but I feel like I can just be me. And even if it's judged by some people, screw them. It really doesn't matter because I've got a group surrounding me that I know love me for me and that appreciate the person that I am. So do it. Don't give up. Failures don't define you.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I appreciate you taking time, getting on the pod, kicking off the first Uncle Strib of the year. And it's going
Yeah.
to be the first science talk that I put on my professional YouTube page. So I, again, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Jensen.